Hey, what is going on guys, it is SuperbTube here and welcome back to another video. In today's video guys, we are going to be ranking 5 of the best hidden locations that you can go to in Fallout 4 where you can find unique, cool and interesting stuff that you may not have found before. Now the way that we have decided which locations should appear on this list is we have looked at, are they unique, are there any other locations like this in the entire game, or is this a one-off location that doesn't appear anywhere else? Do they have interesting lore and an interesting background, or is it just John's random shack with no info, no people, one terminal and a single bloatfly? Do they have unique items and rewards? Is there one specific item that you can get there and you can't get that anywhere else in the game? Or is it just filled with random Joe Schmo loot? And also, these areas cannot have major quests related to them, because if they had major quests related to them, you would know where they are, you've heard of them a million times over. So yeah, we have chosen some of the more secret, hidden areas that you may not have heard of. Before we get into the video guys, please make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. We are so close to 8,000 subscribers, so make sure to subscribe and like the video. Anyway, let's get straight into it. So coming in at number 5, we have Carhenge. Now this is located near Waldon Pond and is an unmarked area on the map. Unlike some of the other locations here, this is actually unmarked and you have to stumble upon it yourself. It's not a fast travel point, and you find in this area cars stacked on top of each other, resembling the famous Stonehenge monument. Now this in itself is somewhat interesting, however lurking inside the monolith for cars, there is one giant object unlike the others. This one moves and is a super mutant behemoth. This area, although simplistic compared to some of the other locations in this video, is interesting and challenging as it harbours one of the toughest enemies in all of Fallout 4, and especially in a somewhat early area of the game where new players may unexpectedly wander and get a nice surprise by getting launched 7,000 feet into the air. Now this area doesn't have any unique loot to speak of. You do get some cool stuff off the dead behemoth, which is quite challenging to kill, but it just is a fun, interesting little area that is in the start of the game and new players can discover.
Now, coming in number 4, we have Hallucigen Inc. Hallucigen is located in downtown Boston, near the Charles View Ampitheatre. The building upon first entry kindly informs us that a chemical leak has been detected and to evacuate the building. Being the adventurous individuals that we are, we ignore such a warning and continue forward, where you will be attacked by gunners. However, strangely enough, they're also attacking each other, and they will be fighting each other before they will focus on you. This is due to the chemical compound that is leaking throughout the entire building, as evidenced by the green gas trails that you will see in every room, along with the warnings that you will hear telling you to evacuate. Throughout the building, more and more gunners are fighting you and one another. They are also screaming and yelling about random things such as the pain and laughing maniacally. When you head down to the basement, you will find a gunner soldier sitting on the floor and crying to himself as he babbles about nonsense. In this case, I killed him, but he's not going to fight you, oddly enough, even though the gunners are typically hostile. This gunner is just sat there, completely gone insane. And eventually we get near the end of the facility where we find a gas-filled corridor, and stepping into it will damage you significantly. So you must decontaminate the hallway before you proceed. Then you can proceed further in the final room after you go through the decontamination. Once you go through that area, you'll be in a final room where you find a gunner commander, and the gunner commander will use a stealth point on you to hide. You have a little boss battle with him, and after you inevitably win, you are left to loot the room of its valuables. Although while there are no unique weapon pieces or armor in this room, if you are all about collecting unique items that don't really have much of a purpose but are very cool to have, Hallucigen is your place to go, because there are 2 items that are not present anywhere else in the entire Commonwealth. And these 2 items are the Hallucigen gas canisters, both ruptured and intact, and then also drugged water, which is a unique water type. Now, the reason we've put Hallucigen on this list is because it's a very unique location. It's one of the only places where you will see members of the same faction fighting each other, and just their behaviour as a whole is very odd. The way they are laughing and crying and screaming and trying to, you know, some of them don't even fight you at all. They're just more focused on each other, or they don't even want to attack you, like the one guy who sat on the floor, sort of sobbing to himself and laughing to himself. It's very strange. It's a very cool location. We just put it here because we think it's interesting to see what kind of effects or what kind of experience people are willing to perform on others. As you see, you can also, there's terminals that you can inspect that will tell you about what the Hallucigen was designed for, and also the gas was put into the entire building so that anyone who goes inside, in this case the gunners, were affected by it, and it drove them mad.
Coming in at number 3, we have the Federal Surveillance Centre K-21B. Now, if you hear this name, you may actually not know where this is on the map. I was a person who did not know where this is until quite recently. This area is located in the glowing sea, and it is hidden inside the abandoned shack there. In the abandoned shack, you find a small little hatch with a skeleton next to it and a suitcase. Inside the suitcase, you find the Federal Surveillance Centre K-21B key, and you can open this hatch, and you find yourself in an underground surveillance facility, which was used by the government before the Great War began. The bunker was intended intended to serve as a surveillance hub for government workers who were to continue their research after the bombs had been dropped and the nuclear apocalypse had started. However, not many workers actually made it to the facility, and a holotape is recorded by an employee named Jeff Buzensky, and he details the deaths of his co-workers and also what happens to him and his fellow co-workers after the bombs had been dropped. There simply was not enough food to sustain the populace within the bunker, and eventually all of the population inside there starved. Now, if this is your first time entering the area and you are not allied to the Institute, there is a bunch of synths in there who will attempt to kill you, but if you are allied to the Institute, the synths will not be hostile, but either way, you'll make your way throughout the bunker and you'll find some interesting things inside. Now, loot-wise, there isn't anything too special. You find 2 Vault-Tec lunchboxes, a US Covert Operations Manual issue number 4, a partial set of power armor with a fusion core, and a mini nuke. Now, this area, although lacking in rewards, is very interesting and unique as there's nothing else like it in the entire game. It's very hidden away and not broadcasted whatsoever as a hub, an interesting area to go to. It's not even marked on the map properly. The abandoned shack is not the area itself. So yeah, it's just a fun, interesting hidden area that you may not have discovered in the game.
And now, coming at number 2, we have the alien crash site. Now, you will encounter the alien crash site when you are out adventuring throughout the Commonwealth, and at a random point in time, there is a scripted event in which you will see an alien ship flying overhead. As smoke trails off behind it, your companions will also react. And if you follow the trail, you will see that the ship has crashed in the dirt, and the ship itself has crashed near, just below Oberland Station, in a forest. When you get close to it, you will see that the entire ship is on fire, and it has dug itself deep into the dirt. And if you look close enough, you will also find some green bloodstains leading us to a cave. As you investigate and follow the trail, you can go inside the cave. Once you're inside, you will see a wounded alien slumped in the corner. If you sneak up, you can watch the alien as it just attempts to recuperate from its wounds, and if it spots you, it will attack you. It will fire at you, and you will have to attack it and kill it. And then when you investigate its body, you will see it's not like any other type of enemy you've seen before. It will have a unique weapon on it too, the alien blaster pistol, which also has a unique ammo type of alien blaster rounds. We've put the alien crash site at number 2 because it's very interesting. It's unmarked on the map. Both the cave that you go into and the site of the crash are both unmarked and not part of any quest. It's just a random event that gets put into the game at a certain point as you just play through. You have to be observant enough to spot it happening. Another thing is that the alien blaster pistol is the only weapon in the entire game that has an ammo type that will not replenish. You can only get these blaster rounds off the body of said alien, and once it runs out of ammo, you will need to convert the weapon to fusion cells. And it's just a very unique location because, one, there's the only alien that you'll encounter in the entire game.
Now, coming in at the number 1 spot, we have Dunwich Borers. Prior to the Great War, Dunwich Borers operated as a marble quarry which, according to several terminal entries, was rife with issues, most prominently safety being a major concern, with many precautions being overlooked by the company. Eventually, these issues caused the deaths of some workers who fell to their demise due to inadequate railings and support beams. After 200 years, the quarry has been overrun by the Forged, who also took over Saugus Ironworks, a place you'll be very familiar with if you're a regular viewer of the channel. And inside the area, you find many raiders, and after fighting your way through them, you get to the bottom of the main area where you find Beldam, which is a small little boss who is a lieutenant of Slag and the Forge. She puts up a decent fight, and you can find some interesting loot in that room, but the intrigue of Dunwich Borers does not end there, like most areas with one singular boss and a quick exit. Moving further forward, we find a nest of feral ghouls in the next room, and they have overrun the rest of the quarry, and many of them are charred and much more difficult to kill than regular feral ghouls. Eventually, after killing all of them, we find this white metal door, and after activating it, we get a small flashback to over 200 years ago, before the Great War began, with some men standing around working in the quarry. The flashback ends as quick as it began, and more feral ghouls begin to attack, and after defeating those, we move forward and are attacked yet again by more feral ghouls, until we enter this small cave where we are once again greeted to a flashback where some people are tied up around an altar with a man making cutting gestures with a knife. Once again, the flashback ends and more ghouls attack, this time named ghouls who are the remains of the project managers from stations 1 through 4, Bob Stanson, Bradley Ramone, John Hatfield and Tim Schutz. We killed the feral ghouls, and in the centre of the room is a pool of water, which, diving down, we can find the legendary and unique Krem's Tooth, which has the effect of making targets bleed and also poisoning them. And also next to this amazing melee weapon is 2 mini nukes. There's also a sneak bobblehead and an astoundingly awesome tails to be found in this area. This location is incredibly interesting with a unique history and a tie to the pre-war world, unlike many other areas which are very basic with one boss, and that is semi-interesting, but that's it. Dunwich Borers goes above and beyond by having an intriguing story, multiple different types of enemies, and very unique and powerful loot.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any other interesting locations that you also would like to tell us about, make sure to comment down below, and make sure to also like and subscribe, as we are almost at 8k subscribers. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and we will see you in the next video in a bit.